Guys, we're making Baltic Brown Granite. It is a very popular granite countertop style. We're gonna make it out of stone coat epoxy today. The first step, we're gonna take our dark bronze mica powder, wet it down with a 91% isopropyl. I'll do a full bag to 16 ounces of alcohol into my spray bottle. I'll shake that up, I'll mist it out over my board, let it dry, and then the next step, we're simply mixing up clear epoxy. Anybody can do that. We're gonna mix for 2 minutes in a mixing bucket, pour it out, trowel it evenly so we have a nice glass-like finish, and then fog and fracture, the granified effect. We're gonna mist some gloss black Rust-Oleum spray paint and follow that with a little bit of our alcohol mixture. That's gonna open up that black paint, fracture it open like Mother Nature does the best, and then the project's complete. We'll let that cure, come back the next day, apply a clear coat, and then the ultimate top coat. Project can be installed. So step one, get yourself a funnel, get yourself one of these Zep spray bottles. I have not found a better spray bottle than old Zepster right here, man. I get those at the Home Depot or Wally's, but the tip, it's very customizable. It gives you big heavy drops or real small drops. So the first step is I pour my powder into this funnel, because then I'm coming back in with alcohol, and then I could wet down all the powder stuck to the funnel and get it into my bottle. That is a full 15 grams of dark bronze. Oh, how big is this bottle? 32 ounces. So I'm gonna use half of this bottle in there. So as long as you have a nice tight lid, this spray bottle of mica powder and alcohol is gonna stay usable for years. And if it dries out and you have powder stuck in there, just add more alcohol in and give it a good shake. The powder is gonna settle to the bottom. So before using this, be sure to give it a real vigorous shake. Otherwise, you're gonna pump dry powder up into the spray nozzle and you could plug it up. And now I'm looking for more heavy drops when I do this. If you look at the actual Baltic Brown, slide it in right here, you're gonna see that there's different size, it's almost a circular pattern, and there's different size spheres on there. And then the fog and fracture kind of laces over that with different sizes. So the different size almost circles really is what makes this piece look very pretty. All right, shake up my alcohol. I'm gonna test it on the side of my project here, because I kind of want the bigger drops like that. Even bigger. Bingo. All right, and I'm giving it just very small pumps. All right, now that I got my sprayer spraying just how I like, I'm gonna come back and just apply random blobs. Random and uniform, if that's a thing. And what I'm looking for too is little drops and big drops, all different sizes. Because then when we come and fracture it with the granified effect with that black paint and alcohol, it gives us circles again. I'm gonna let this alcohol dry, and then we'll be back for the next step, which will be applying clear epoxy. And you could go as little or as heavy really as you want. I could have stopped a little bit ago, but I kind of like a lot of bronze down on my black. And I'm gonna come and hit all my edges. All right, guys, that's good there. And I'm gonna let that dry. I'll be back for the next step. This alcohol should be dry, completely dissipated in about 7 minutes. To speed up the drying process, get yourself a heat gun. Do not use a propane torch when you have wet alcohol. Now that's a pro tip. A heat gun will dry that alcohol without setting it on fire. Pretty quick too. You can watch it dry, watch. Bye. Bye. Oh, here's one. Oh. There was one. All right, that is dry in about 1 minute, not 7. We're mixing up epoxy, boys. So this guy, let's figure out how much epoxy to mix up. Whenever mixing up a clear coat, anything that's not an exotic pour, dirty pour, or melded marble, you're going 3 ounces per square foot. And without messing up my beautiful technique, that's 25 inches by 49. Let's figure that out. 25 by 49 equals
1,225.
Divide that by 144.
8.5.
That's 8.5 square feet. Now times that by 3.
25.5
ounces of epoxy to mix up. Now we're gonna divide that by 2. That's gonna be 12 and a half and 12 and a half, right? That's 25. But now, here's another pro tip, guys. Your ounces aren't every single ounce. So we're at 25 ounces, that's 24, but it doesn't give me half. It doesn't give me a 12. So I'm just gonna walk it up to 32. That's what I do. I walk it up to the nearest little mark so I know my ratio is going to be perfect. We're going 1-to-1, so I'm going 16 ounces of B, 16 ounces of A. I'm going to thoroughly mix that and then apply it over my Baltic Brown board. I'm going just normal stone coat countertop epoxy on this. Whenever doing a white or light colored countertop, that's when you want to use Art Coat. Art Coat has the most UV resistance in the epoxy industry, followed by a close second with our original countertop epoxy. So earth tones, dark colors, you're not gonna see the downside of that yellowing over years and years down the road. White and light, stick with the Art Coat. So I'm gonna start with part B first at a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm following this little chart on the side. So if you don't know how to use that chart, it's a 1-to-1 chart, guys. So I filled up my first one to the 3. I'm a hair above 3, and now I'm gonna get part B up to that 3. From here to here. Now if it's a 2-to-1, I'd go to this 3, and then my part B would just come to that 3. As you can see, it's half the distance. All right, time to mix. Mixing can be done a couple of ways. You can mix with a paddle mixer and a drill, as I'm gonna show you, or you can mix with a paint stick. You're gonna mix for about 2 minutes with a paddle mixer on a drill. You can get this bad boy at pretty much any hardware store. Grab onto that bucket. I'm gonna plunge it down in and then lift it up a hair and mix for about 90 seconds. And when after about 90 seconds, I'll grab a paint stick. I'll rub the sides and bottom of my mixing bucket. That's gonna ensure a very good mix. You wanna start out with a good mix, otherwise it may not dry. But with Stone Coat's 3-mix method, you're starting out on the right foot, and this bad boy is going to dry. It's gonna cure, it's gonna be beautiful. You're gonna save yourself thousands of dollars on your kitchen. Your wife or husband's gonna go, wow, great job, honey. Let's do this for a business. And now you're making your bag. And if you need that extra bit of training, you know, we try to give you everything here on our videos. But if you need that hands-on touch, check out RK3 Designs. She offers 3 or 4 different styles of epoxy hands-on training. If you want to make this into a business, class for you. If you want to do your own countertops, class for you. You want to go over existing surfaces, there's a class for you. Check it out, rk3designs.com. All right, we're about midway through. I'll lay that there. Grab me a paint stick, and we're scraping sides of the bucket. And then I scrape bottom. Get yourself in a good habit of starting out with a good mix, guys. It's time well spent. Mix again here, and we're ready to pour. And you can see that the epoxy is a little milky at this point. And what that is, it's air entrained into that resin while mixing. It comes out real easily with a heat source. But the next step at this point is to make sure that that doesn't drip anywhere you don't want it to. Grab your mixed epoxy. Now remember, we have the metallic powders are on the surface right now. The alcohol that enabled us to spray those on is gone. So if I rubbed my hand hard, man, this looks so pretty. If I rubbed my hand hard across that, it could smear a little bit. So when I go to trowel, I'm gonna do with that light pressure. I'm gonna pour my resin out here right into the center. And I mixed a little extra, so I'm gonna hold a little bit back. I'll make some coasters after this. Next step is our 1/8" by 1/8" square notch trowel. These are hard to find at your hardware store. Pick them up on our website. I'll leave a link in the description below. So step 1, after pouring your material, I'm gonna, with a very light pressure, I'm just letting that glide. I am mixing my material a second time right here before I begin to spread. And when I go to spread, I am not gonna run it off my edge at first. Once it starts running off my edge, I've given the resin somewhere to go, and it's gonna go. Wow, that's already really pretty, isn't it? That resin just is like a magnifying glass. This style of countertop is really, really a good one to do over your existing laminate surface with that backsplash that's attached, right? It's coved in there. The reason being is you're putting your colors on now, right? And now I'm just doing clear resin. If I were to put a bunch of colors into the resin and then put that on a vertical surface, it's gonna run down. So if you don't wanna cut out your backsplash, this is the perfect recipe for you. You can also do this, which we have a video of, and it's called blue pearl granite. And you're gonna use a blackboard, and you're gonna use silver and blue micas and mist those on to create a really, really pretty surface. Golly, this is almost pretty without the fucking fracture. All right, now that the epoxy's spread, I'm gonna take my gloved hand and I'm gonna rub my edges, make sure there's material on my edges. That way, as the material flows, this is gonna continue to self-level for a couple hours. It's gonna flow nice and even. Epoxy flows where epoxy has been. If you leave a dry spot, surface tension happens and then it's not gonna wanna flow there. So chopping the top does a couple things. It eliminates the trowel lines as I spread the material, and it also mixes that material for that third and final time, ensuring a nice good cure. So here's our chop brush. You can get this on our website. You can also pick these up at the hardware store, but no matter how much you spend on a brush, be sure to de-shed them. Which, to do that, just pull on the edge of the bristles kind of violently. Anything loose will come out. We're looking good. And now I'm gonna take that brush and dip it into the residual resin. In this case, I have a little bit extra, but if I just had a little bit, I'd rub it around the sides, wet it down a little bit. That just keeps you from pulling a bunch of material up when you go to start chopping. So to chop the top, we're gonna use the heel of the brush in a random pattern, completely hit the whole surface. This eliminates those trowel marks and mixes that third and final time. And so far we've used bronze mica powder, isopropyl alcohol, stone coat countertop epoxy, a chop brush, and a notch trowel. The next step, you could see all these micro bubbles that I've just incorporated while chopping that top. We're gonna eliminate that with a heat source. And I'm gonna show you both a heat gun and a propane torch. Both will do the trick. The propane torch is your most effective and efficient way, followed by your heat gun. So turn it on high, let it warm up, and we're gonna sweep the surface, and mind your cord, and we're gonna sweep that surface, and it's gonna pop the bubbles the same way the blowtorch will. You're just gonna have to go a little bit slower. So if you're uncomfortable using that propane torch, go ahead and get you a heat gun, and then just take your sweet little time popping bubbles. And if you wanna put your big boy pants on and get this done in a fast time, grab your propane torch. Same process, we're gonna sweep that just a little bit faster using that propane torch. The epoxy does not catch on fire. It is not flammable. You can see, not scary. It's at a nice steady pace. I'm using lights from above, watching where that heat hits, pops the bubbles, laying down like a sheet of glass. Next step, we're gonna granify it. What is granifying? What the heck is he talking about? That's where you add the lacing on top. Fog and fracture, you're gonna fog heavy to light amounts of black gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint, quickly followed by your 91% isopropyl alcohol. You could use the same isopropyl that has the color in it, or you could use crystal clear. That's up to you. That's the dealer's choice. I'll show you both versions. I'll do crystal clear on this side, and I'll fracture with some bronze on this side. But wow, this piece looks pretty sweet already. I love how even just bronze mica powder over a black board, and it's already pretty cool looking. So you wanna get your spray bottles misting a lot like this. You don't want bigger drops. You don't wanna do this and mist just a bunch. We're doing small amounts, little pools. I'm gonna adjust that so it gives me a little more drops, adjust, bingo. That's what I'm after. And I'll do the same thing with my bronze. Yeah, that's still working good. See that? That's what you're looking for. We're gonna, because some are small, some are big. That's gonna open that lacing big and small. Black gloss, give it a good shake. We're gonna go heavy and light in the same area. The key is to follow it quickly with isopropyl. So I'm not gonna fog this whole piece. I'm gonna do this in 3 sections, so that's what you wanna do on site. If you're doing this on your island, break it up, because you don't wanna fog the whole piece. It takes you 3 minutes to fog it. By the time you get back here, this paint's on the surface. You don't want it to dry. You wanna hit it with the alcohol while it's still wet. Enough yapping, let's get to work. I'm gonna start fogging. So I'll do light, and then over here I'll go heavy. See the difference? Boom. Now I'll do this side with a clear, and then quickly follow it with that clear alcohol. And these are quarter pumps. I want some little drops and some big drops. It's good practice to let this sit. Let your epoxy kind of gel up a little bit. This is early on, so the epoxy's still fluid. These are gonna stretch a little bit. So if this is a customer's job, I would do my alcohol, I'd let that dry. I'd mix in my epoxy. I'd let this epoxy sit 30 minutes here in Oregon, and then I'd do my fog and fracture. At that point, a lot of that excess material has self-leveled off. It won't stretch out your spheres as much. And mist. You can even do like an Italian drip, and I learned this from ATV. You put a big amount in your hand and then throw out big drops. All right, now let's do the colored alcohol, show the difference of that. Now you can see how the color adds even some color, and I think I like that more. Goodness gracious. See how I'll do a big spot. See how it adds, it's adding some of that mica color in there. That's pretty. I think I like that way more, right? I'm gonna bring that color over my other side now. Woo-wee, hello. That's Baltic Brown. Hi, this is Baltic Brown, but way less heavy. That's beautiful. I don't like that though. I got a big spurt right there. My nozzle held. So, I'll show you how to fix that. Just add a little bit more layers. This is sticking again. We got to get some more Zeps, bro. I think these were from our original class, dude. They're covered in resin. They're multiple years old. There's sentimental value to this, on this. We've been through a lot together, reminiscing all the wonderful people. The garbage man that got out of the garbage truck that started his own business. The father-daughter team that makes like legendary countertops and installs them across Washington State. I love this job, and it's not for being on YouTube, it's for helping folks. All right, I'm calling it. I'm gonna walk away Rhonda at this point because this is fantastic. And the key, guys, omit doing the clear on this recipe. This was second string, this is first string. You're gonna use that same bronze mixture that you applied the base coat with and bring that on top of that fog and fracture. Now that brought it to the next level, knocked it out of the park. And guys, I hope you learned a little bit of confidence on one of these original OG colors that Mike developed way back when Stone Coat was a brand new, fresh little baby. Here we are, 7-8 years later. Baltic Brown is still a giant W. Mike, you got this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until the next video from Stone Coat Countertops, you got this, and we'll see you on the next video. I said that twice. You better be at the next video. Let's go.